I have a story to start the whole thing. As a teacher, I've got lots of stories. We had a little 6-year-old boy in our school about 5 years ago. Bright, energetic chap. Now, the thing was, we had issues. His issue was he would hit his classmates. An even bigger issue was he was bigger and rounder than his friends who were half his size. He would also beat the teachers. Now, this went on for about 2 months, and we were like completely baffled, you know. So one of the days when we called the parents in to have a chat, did we finally clue in as to exactly what was happening. He was so used to fighting with his father, uncle, and brother, who were all big-sized men. So that was what he was doing in school, you know. And that's exactly what kids are. They are random, they want to play, and they're spontaneous. And this boy had no idea what his strength was like. And in comparison, his friends were really skinny, scrawny. So we were very worried. Okay? Now, if you really look around you and observe children, when they are together, put together in a bunch, they will play. They will run around and make a lot of noise. That is their natural state. So, the thing is, what happens then is that there are a lot of people who actually are very worried and they fear. They're very scared of this kind of disorder and randomness. They think that it equates disobedience and indiscipline, but it does not. Actually, it is the education system. It is so systemized to the point where the human component is missing. And not only that, it is very, very difficult to shift. Okay? Now, not only that, a lot of my students also say that their schools are like prisons. Well, if you're a child and a teenager that is highly spirited with lots of energy, they love socializing, and not only that, they love to play. And then you are put into an education system where you are forced to sit still, keep quiet, and behave like little adults. Now, exactly. So 6 to 7 hours every day, year on year, for 10 years or more. It feels like a prison. Thank you. And not only that, you just imagine these kids, they are not little adults. So when you expect them to behave like one, believe me, we're just setting them up to fail. So this is where we are coming from, you know, with the little children. It is something that needs to be done in order to shift this space. Okay, so the thing now is this: if that systemized system really, really worked, then why is it that adult human lives are so messy? It's so full of complexities and layers by nature. And if you talk to working adults, they'll tell you this: you know what? The job is not the problem. It's dealing with people that's the problem. Okay? So what we did was, in the school, we decided to introduce what we call nurtured disorder. For the past 20 over years. And how we do it is, we actually harness children's energy and their natural behavior, and we just change it, the way we teach, so that it is the way they want to learn. And we're preparing them for the real world. So this is way beyond play-based learning. Okay? And I also started questioning a lot of things that didn't make sense. Like, why in the world are these kids so miserable and they consider school a prison? And the other thing, how many of you have eaten in class when you're not supposed to? Thank you. See, lots of hands, exactly. So why in the world is eating in class considered a disciplinary issue? When you actually look at adults, right? When we go for meetings, there are always snacks and tea and coffee, and we all love it. We're Malaysians, after all. Then what about, teachers who are expected to be able to create kids who become somebody who is successful or, rich, make a lot of money, but nobody really worries about the teachers and whether they are making ends meet. And so, in reaction to all this, we created a system that doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Okay? Now, you just imagine we encourage our kids to do hip hop in order to learn kinetic particle theory. We take them to the water theme park to do math experiments. We encourage them to play chemistry role-playing game, which we created, to prepare for exams. Now, what about entrepreneurship for children? We made it compulsory in our school for 6 years, for kids 6 years old and above, that they have to do entrepreneurship. And we encourage our kids to actually start their own businesses and run it while they're still studying. Now, I have a 7-year-old girl. She's 11. She's actually 10 this year. She started her business, her tea business, at the age of 7, and she's been running it for 4 years. Then I had a little boy at the age of 10 who decided to do urban farming. You know, he's planting kale and Brazilian spinach, which I'd never seen before, and pak choy. And one day he told his mom, he said, "Mom, we cannot plant pak choy because 200 grams is only 2 something ringgit. But we should plant kale because 200 over 200 grams is 12 ringgit." I was completely blown away because he was only 10. And now he sells the vegetables which he grows himself to the teachers and some of the parents who are, in his business model, a membership model. He's only just turned 11. I have another boy I call the cookie boy because he makes very good chocolate chip cookie. This year, his second year of business, he's got a second business running, which is a vending machine business. He is having one in our school, and he's going to have 2 more in my 2 other schools, so that he can supply food for his friends who stay back after school. And we applaud him for it. We have another girl who, at the age of 14, decided to sell the squishy objects, that kids like a lot. In a space of 1.5 years, she had a turnover of 45,000 ringgit. 1.5 years. But more importantly was when she joined us, her English was really quite poor. Okay? But because she was writing Instagram and she had to write her posts in English, her English really improved for real. Okay? Now, the other thing is we actually encourage our teachers and administrators to run their own businesses as well, and to leverage on the entrepreneur ecosystem that we have built. Now, if you look at the slide, you will see the sumo wrestling. Okay? Right there is the principle of our schools during the sports carnival. Okay? This is the kind of community that we created. Now, that is actually a whole lot of chaos for a lot of people. But we shall share with you our little story. I'm a teacher, first and foremost. I've been for 34 years. In those years, I was privileged as a teacher to have the opportunity to teach the same child like for 10 whole years, 11, 12, and even 13 years. I had a family who was with me for 21 years going through our system. Whatever we came up with, we started the school, they sent to the school, 21 years, 5 kids. I also had the opportunity of teaching a very wide age range from 4 to college to adults. And in college, I got to teach kids from East Malaysia, West Malaysia, kampong school, city school, international school, private school, and also a lot of the international students who came to learn English, from even as far as Brazil and Czechoslovakia and Taiwan and Indonesia, etc. So this is the space I'm coming from, having dealt with all these kids, and the story that I want to share and the requests that they're making, because many of them were miserable in school. Okay? Now, a number of years ago, when my youngest daughter was 13 years old, she came and asked me, "Mom, why was it that, I enjoyed kindergarten so much, and now I hate going to school?" That's a question that adults, parents, we don't want to answer. But she hit a chord. It was true. I ended up apologizing to her on behalf of the government and the education system. I didn't have a choice. Okay, so right there and then I decided, look, I have to do something about this and change education. But I'm a teacher. I had such limited resources, and the requirements to set up schools is just tremendous. And the other thing was, where do I even begin? Even more importantly is change the education to what? Till today, nobody knows what it should even look like. And so anyway, I started charging forward day after day, and I realized that, you know what? I'm not even thinking out of the box. I was throwing away boxes along the way. Worse still, I realized that I had challenged a dinosaur. Can't do it on my own, right? So I went out looking for a group of people who wanted to help change the dinosaur by pulling it into the future. Okay, and the thing about this is, these beautiful people that I know, they're coming from, and they're engineers. I've got medical doctor, pharmacists. We have biomedical degree holders, accountants and lawyers, and you just name it. They came in because of the cause. Today, there are 250 of us to do this. The only problem is we didn't realize that behind that dinosaur was a whole herd of dinosaurs. Okay, traditional parents are one. In my school, I remember a couple of years ago, second day of school, this mother came in to withdraw the daughter. She said, I didn't send my daughter to school for the teachers to tell jokes. The first day was orientation. The second half of the day was for the teachers to get to know the children. And she put the daughter into a very, very traditional, strict school system. Then you have the traditional teachers. Now, this is feedback I get from parents whose kids are in those schools, right? So I'm hearing from them firsthand. But it's not just in our country, it's happening in other countries as well. The teachers would not let the children go to the toilet during class or in between classes. I was absolutely horrified because, the parent told me, look, Anne, I have two daughters. I had to pull them out from the school because they were getting urinary tract infection. It is not even about controlling the children. It is a health issue. And there are kids, the younger ones, who end up pooping and peeing in their pants because they were afraid to ask the teacher to go to the toilet. And the last straw on this toilet business, okay, was we had a teacher from another school who came for a job interview in our school. The reason she wanted to leave was because she got a letter of warning from the principal for letting 6 children during the day go to toilet. Because the policy is in that school is that children cannot go to toilet during class, and if they do, the teacher has to record it. Now, this is the state of education today in so many countries around the world. Okay? The only thing that we can do to change it is to have an asteroid. Okay? Anyway, what we have created is actually a system we call the EPOC system. And it is not about destroying the dinosaurs. It is about changing and evolving them into something more current. Okay? And what happened was we ended up creating a very unconventional education system where kids are socializing and playing while they're doing physics. They can eat in class, they can color their hair because parents color their hair too. And it doesn't make anybody a bad person. Now, and if you really look at it, those of us who are working, when we have meetings, we don't just talk about the work only. We spend a lot of time, chatting and also joking to get to know one another. It's about building relationships with the people you work with. And many, many companies are evolving in such a way where the working environment is like Google, where you get lots of food and the working space is very, very comfortable And you can even have access to a nap room. That is the working space of our children today. So we need to prepare them for that. Now, so all we did was actually to wrap the human component around the curriculum. Therein lies the solution. Education needs to have elements of disorder and randomness in order for the humanity to come through. Then we can keep up with a world that is uncertain and constantly changing. Now, the EPOC system, it ties in the human component into a flexible framework. Now, right smack in the middle is that life-giving tree. Those are our children. Then the innermost ring, the silver color, yeah, that would be the basic curriculum that is the foundation of any education system around the world. Then you have the second ring, the blue ring, which is for enlightenment. You know, it is very boring for teachers to talk about the theory of jet propulsion. It is way more exciting if the kids can shoot a water rocket into the air. Yeah. So this is what we mean by the aha moments. Then if you want to talk about getting kids to work together, you know what? They'll pick and choose. Sometimes they'll even argue. They may hate each other. But as they work along and sometimes as they work through their differences with our guidance behind them, and then when they get to a point where they come up with something amazing together despite the differences, that is what it means to be human and working through a process. And when we talk about presentation, sure, I can give the children a whole list of what it takes to create an amazing presentation. But you know what? Until they actually do it, and people come up to them and congratulate them that you did an amazing job with your presentation. Until that happens, the student will not know what it takes to get there. Okay? So now, a lot of schools, they actually focus on only the innermost ring. The second one, some schools are doing it, but half of it. And generally, the human component, the inner strength, is the one that's harder to do. But that takes the adults in the school to walk the talk if you really want to do the human component. When you're not congruent, you lose the students right there. Now, once you have the enlightenment dealt with, then only do we have a chance to work with the kids on mastery. The mastery of resilience, to be intuitive, to have real core values to move forward with, and to have the consciousness of spirit and the universe. Okay? Now, coming back to the story of that little boy who hit his friends, in the end, we didn't deal with him. We dealt with the family. We told the family, please stop playing with him like that. But it took intuition to actually figure out the root cause of the problem. The hitting stopped. Okay? So now, because we're all humans, okay, so we have that core value right in the middle, our EPOC. But we're humans, and therefore we need to celebrate and have it, make sure it's in school, that we are noisy. We are high-spirited. We are also random. We are human. We are fun. And we are very unpredictable. So, embrace the random mess. Thank you.